We were $120,000 in debt 8 years ago when we first started our debt-free journey. After going to a Dave Ramsey seminar one Sunday afternoon, we realized the path that Brit and I were on financially wasn't leading toward a future that we wanted to take part of. So we quickly got off that path and decided to go all in on paying off our debt in hopes that we could actually enjoy our money later on in life. To make that happen, we got 3 extra jobs between the two of us, brought our expenses down as much as we could. We started budgeting, and we also canceled the one credit card that we had. This wasn't because we had ever accrued interest or carried over a balance. It was just that, we figured if we were going all in to pay off our debt, we were really going to go all in to pay off our debt. And that included canceling the one credit card and any other credit accounts we may have had. So about 3 years after cutting up our credit card and canceling all of our credit accounts, we became debt-free. And for the next 5 years, we lived without a credit card. We solely used debit cards. And that was our intention basically for the rest of our lives, is just to use debit cards. So was this difficult? Not really. I mean, we lived on a couple of debit cards for years. It's just as easy to pay for things with a debit card as it is to pay for things with a credit card. Our credit scores slowly declined, going from 800 plus to 775 to 749 to less and less and less of a score. And then eventually our credit scores didn't even show up. It's not that they were zero. This when somebody pulled our credit, nothing was there for them to see. It said inefficient data. This would throw a lot of people into panic mode, but us, not so much. Our intention with becoming debt-free was to really become debt-free and not use credit cards. We didn't really think there would be anything that we would need to use a credit card for. So we were perfectly content with having basically a non-existent credit score. Until we came into a situation where we realized having a credit score and a credit card would make our lives a million times easier. And if you've been following the channel for a while, you may have already figured out what that was. It was buying a house. What's up, guys? I'm Mike.
And I'm Brit.
And this is why we got a credit card after 5 years of being debt-free and not using a credit card at all.
For the longest time, we thought we could do what was called manual underwriting, and it's something, if you follow Dave Ramsey for a while, you've heard him mention before. But if you're not familiar with it, banks can do this, it just takes a lot longer.
So if you're unfamiliar with manual underwriting, it's an alternative way of figuring out how responsible somebody is with their money. Basically like other means of figuring out if they paid things on time other than just having a credit score. So that could be from gathering like rent payments, utility bills, anything like that doesn't have to do with a credit score. And it's fairly simple. A lot of, like Brittany said, a lot of banks do it. Some don't. In our experience, we tried 3 different banks. We shopped around at 3 different banks. 2 of those banks did manual underwriting, no problem at all. One of them didn't. They knew what it was, but they didn't do it. So here's what we learned shopping around at different lenders who actually did manual underwriting.
So the first thing was they would need a whole lot more information about you, like your income, expense ratio, bank statements, like what Michael was talking about before, utilities, rent payments, just a lot of information that you could easily give them, but it's just a lot more work and a lot more paperwork on the front end.
Yeah, it basically just requires you to gather a lot more documents into the past on top of what's usually required if you have a credit score. I think it was in our case like a year's worth of payment history, which we had. It just would have been a hassle getting a hold of all that. Not all that big of a deal, but a little bit annoying. The second thing we found out with lenders who do, or at least the 2 lenders that we shopped around for who did manual underwriting, was that they both had a slightly higher interest rate for people with no credit. It wasn't much higher. It wouldn't have made that much of a difference, but it was slightly annoying and
a little bit frustrating.
Yeah.
So the third thing was we would need 12 months worth of mortgage payments in cash up front before closing.
Yeah, so not only do we need our down payment, not only do we need our emergency fund, our 6-month emergency fund, which is non-negotiable for Brittany and I, not only do we need closing costs, we also had to have 12 months of mortgage payments in the bank, sitting in the bank before closing.
Yeah.
And in Brittany's and my case, that was $17,500. So if you haven't been following the channel, our emergency fund is about $21,000. Closing costs were all inclusive, probably like $9,000, $6,000 to $9,000. I forget. There's a budget video we did that has all that broken down, but $6,000 to $9,000. So our down payment was $28,000. So just between the down payment, the closing costs, and our emergency fund, that's $58,000 in cash. Add another $17,500 to that. That's $73,500, basically $75,000 that Brittany and I would have to have laying around in cash before we even started to think about seriously moving forward with the house buying process. If, on the other hand, we had a credit score that was 740 or above. All of that would be like gotten rid of. All those requirements would be gotten rid of. And all we would need to buy the house that we're currently sitting in is, just the standard documents, which are already kind of a lot, but a lot less than what would be needed if we didn't have a credit score. So this led to a very deep philosophical discussion between Brittany and I that lasted 2 or 3 weeks, and also a phone call into Dave Ramsey's office. Hi Dave, I had a quick question for my wife and I. So we've been debt-free for 5 years. We went through Financial Peace University 8 years ago at the beginning of our marriage. Spent the first 3 years of our marriage paying off $120,000 in debt. Canceled all of our credit cards and credit accounts. And we've kind of run into a situation that kind of goes against what you teach, and that is basically having a credit card. So Brittany and I have run into a situation where having a credit card is going to be much more beneficial for us in the short term. We don't really plan on using it for debt. We're going to pay it off. Both of us know you're vehemently opposed to credit cards, but like I said, this is going to make our lives a whole lot easier, at least in the short term. We just wanted to know what your opinion was.
Did anybody not learn anything?
Oh, no. I mean, we actually learned a lot going through FPU. It's just having a credit card is going to save us a lot of time, energy, $17,500, at least for the short term.
Translation. You didn't learn anything. Unbelievable.
So like I said, we're not going to be using the credit card as a debt accumulating tool. We're going to be using it to build up a credit score temporarily so we can get a house that we want. We already have a substantial down payment saved up for the house. I mean, we're going to pay this off every month or even before we get the statement in the mail.
Dave, I pay my credit card off every month. I don't know if I agree with you. Really? Really?
But,
and that's causing you to build wealth how?
Well, no, I mean, we're not going to be using it as a wealth building tool. It's just to get our credit score up. We're going to be using it just like a debit card or cash. We're just going to be paying it off.
And you feel the pain? Not at all. You stick your credit card right there in the little slot, and you type in your little number.
Or we are actually probably
run it,
swiping it.
Either way, swipe it, swipe it, and then can't figure out why you're broke.
Well,
you make more than 3 times as much money as your parents. Your lifestyle is 6 times what your parents were, and you're broke. You make all this money, you look good, and you're broke.
I would say
because you're stupid. Because you're walking around this plastic in your back pocket thinking that makes you look like you're somebody. It's straight up stupidity. Did you learn nothing? Nothing. I mean, stupid on parade. That's what this is.
Okay, so that phone call may or may not have actually happened. But
it did not happen.
Regardless, it still made Brittany and I really start thinking deeply about our current situation. Do we need a credit card? Do we want to even get a credit card?
Right.
After being not really opposed to it, but just, mentally forcing ourselves not to have one for so long. I'm like, does that mean that, if we get one and we start using it to get our credit score up, are we back in debt? Does that mean we have debt? What is debt? I don't even think Brittany and I had even asked ourselves that, which is a simple question, but obviously, taking out a student loan and making payments to the government or Sally Mae or whatever every month, was the majority of Brittany's and my $120,000 of debt. That's debt. But something as simple as going to the doctor and having to wait a month or 2 until you get your bill in the mail, is that debt? You still owe the money the entire time, but you're just not paying. It's just kind of
And you have to wait that long because it's pending insurance. You can't just pay them up front. Well, you could and do self-pay, but usually it's cheaper to go through your insurance.
And that's what many people do, I would imagine. That's what Brittany and I have always done.
Yeah.
And, Brittany's mom pays for her cell phone bill because she's on her family's plan, and so does mine. And then we just pay them every month. Something as simple as, Brittany's or my mom paying for our cell phone bill, and then us paying them back 5 or 7 days later or whatever. Are we in debt? Does that mean debt? Because if so, basically the conclusion that Brittany and I came to was, I would assume that using our bank's money that we have our credit card with would be debt as well. So obviously, as the title of the video explains, we decided to go ahead and get the credit card. Why did we do this? After 8 years of going through the debt-free process and then being debt-free for a long time, and going through Dave Ramsey's program specifically, and Dave Ramsey is vehemently opposed to credit cards. Why, after all that time, did we get a credit card? Well, as Brittany and I said earlier, the majority of the reason, actually 99% of the reason, was it would make this house buying process so much easier. Not that it can't be done without a credit score. It totally can. We didn't like the idea of spending so much time saving up that much money just to buy a house that we'd end up buying anyway. Also, if we had waited to save up the extra $17,500, this neighborhood we're in right now would have been 100% sold out and we wouldn't be here. It was worth biting the bullet, saying, all right, yeah, let's go ahead and get a credit card. Get in this house while we still can. We can build our credit score, and here's that extra 1% while we did get a credit card. Get free stuff in the meantime. And this is this is the only reason why we've kept a credit card after closing, is because we just get free stuff for using it.
Free money.
Yeah, free money, basically. And it's pretty cool. And I know that this is one of the things that Dave Ramsey says all the time, like credit card points, flying miles, that's not how you build wealth, and we 100% agree. Somebody who spends $100,000 on their credit card will get between $1,000 and $1,500, maybe $2,000 back for all those purchases. That is not how you build wealth. Yeah. However, that is a free $1,000 to $2,000 that you would not have had, that you just wouldn't have had otherwise. Or it's a trip overseas. In Brittany's, in my case, it could be we love to travel to Hawaii. One of our goals in life is to be able to move to Hawaii and just stay there. We lived in Hawaii before for a few months, and it was amazing. It changed our lives, but it's super expensive. So anything that we can do to offset that cost, we would want to do. Also, one of our big goals for this year is to start investing like crazy. If we can earn a few dollars back here and there using a credit card to help us invest more, I don't really see any issue with that.
And we're also not using the credit card for every purchase. We're only using it for the necessities, basically the things we need. So it's for things we would be purchasing anyways.
So a lot of you guys have found our channel in one way or another from Dave Ramsey related content, because, just of Brittany and I, Brittany and I have made so many videos since we've gone through his program, which I would highly recommend. And he disagrees 100% with credit cards. Here's how we feel. Brittany can correct me if I'm wrong in terms of if this is how she feels, but at least for me, credit cards are not something you should be playing with. Mm-hmm. They're not something that people who are irresponsible with money should be getting. Right. Credit cards are for people who are already responsible, who know how to manage their money, who are not looking to their credit cards to make them wealthy, because they will not do that, and who won't be spending more on their credit cards than they would already be spending in the first place. If you can use a credit card and fall into all of those things, I think you're going to be fine. And that's pretty much Brittany's in my case. However, if you are out of control with your money,
don't get it.
A credit card is going to make your life miserable. Don't get it. Yeah. But for people who are responsible with their money and know how to manage their money, I'm all for free stuff. I'll take it. So with that being said, these are kind of the few principles that Brittany and I follow with regard to personal finance when it comes to credit cards. The first one is we never spend more money on our credit card than we were originally intending to spend. So for example, this would be a perfect example with a new house. We have a lot of small furniture we still want to get. If we want to get a table that costs $150, like a nightstand or something, and let's say that's our budget for this nightstand, $150. We're not going to go out and spend $300 on a nightstand just because we can use our credit card. That's stupid. We don't do that. We set a budget and we stick to it. Whether we pay, regardless of whether we pay with a credit card or a debit card. That's it. So our second principle is that we never put more money on the credit card than we have in cash. I don't even know why we have to be mentioning that. But yeah, we never put more money on the credit card than we have in our bank account in cash to cover it immediately.
So, and the third one is we never carry a balance. So like Mike was mentioning before, as soon as the payment processes, we pay it right away. So
typically, like if we go to the grocery store or something and put $50 on the credit card, it takes a couple days to process and actually go through. As soon as that happens, we pay it off. We don't even wait to get the bill in the mail. We just pay it off immediately. It's super simple to do that with the app that we have as well.
And the last one is we don't use credit cards in an attempt to build wealth.
You have to spend an exorbitant amount of money to really make anything substantial back with a credit card. It's really just for like small bits of free money here and there that you're really going to be getting. It's in no way a means to build wealth. But over time, if you're using that extra money right, the free stuff right, it can build up. For example, in Brittany's and my case, we're getting maybe $100 back on our credit card in cash every month or two, just from normal expenses that we would already be spending our money on. $100 invested monthly over a period of 40 years or something, like Dave Ramsey always says, that's over $1 million. What it really takes is just good financial behavior, self-discipline, and smart money management skills. And when I say smart money management skills, it's just like basic math. Don't spend more than you have. Don't spend more than you're already planning on spending. Stick to a budget. All that being said, that's why we got a credit card. After going through Dave Ramsey's program and 5 years of being debt-free, not using a credit card at all, it started with how much easier it was going to make the house buying process be, and we stayed with it because of all of the extra investment money that we're getting that we can throw at the stock market, which is especially strange to say during these times, but these times are the best time to invest. So we may make more credit card videos because there are a lot of credit cards out there that could be very useful depending on certain situations. So if you'd like us to make more credit card videos like top cashback credit cards, top travel point credit cards to get, free international flights or whatever, let us know in the comments because we did do a lot of research before we got a credit card.
Yeah, and we also did a lot of research on how to get our credit score up the quickest.
Oh, so here's another thing that we didn't mention. Our credit scores went from basically non-existent to over 800 in like a week.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know how that's possible, but
if you want us to make a video about how we did that and what we did, we can do that too.
Yeah. Anyways, let us know. That being said, I think we're going to end it right here. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We appreciate it. Stay tuned for the next video, and we'll see you then.
Bye. Oh, me next. I wanted to see the next part.
Oh, okay.
And the second one is we never spend. And the second one is we never spend. Why can I not get it? I guess it's because I was going to say it that way. So the second one is we never spend. Where is that?